Welcome. Our story today is titled, The Enchanted Silent City and the Island of Secrets. It is one of the fantasy stories. Close your eyes and listen. Once upon a time in a land far, far away, as the 10th night arrived, and the silvery moonlight timidly crept into the palace chambers, King Shahryar summoned Scheherazade, as was his custom. His eyes held a familiar blend of curiosity and anticipation, for he had grown accustomed to the enchantment of her tales, which eased the harshness of his days and the burdens of his rule. Scheherazade settled onto her cushion, beginning her narrative in a calm and composed voice, as she did each night. King Shahryar then spoke. "O Scheherazade, the night has once again descended, and my heart eagerly awaits the stories you will bestow upon us. In the past nights, you have captivated me with varied and wise tales. What narrative will you unfold for us this evening?" Scheherazade replied, "My lord king, tonight I shall recount a wondrous and peculiar tale, a story of an enchanted city and a valiant prince, and how this prince managed to break the city's spell and rescue its people from a great affliction. Listen attentively, O just king. It is told, O benevolent king, that in ancient times, in a bygone era, there existed a magnificent city situated on the shores of a vast sea. This city was teeming with inhabitants, renowned for its flourishing trade and exquisite arts. It was ruled by a just king who cherished his people and ensured their comfort and happiness. However, fate decreed that a great calamity should befall this city. One day, as the people lived in peace and security, a wicked sorcerer suddenly appeared, wielding extraordinary power and potent magic. This sorcerer managed to cast a spell upon the entire city, transforming it into a silent, deserted place. Its inhabitants were turned into statues of stone, movement ceased in its streets and markets, and a terrifying stillness descended upon it. The king was deeply saddened by the misfortune that had befallen his city and his people. He tried every possible means to break the spell, enlisting the help of the most renowned sorcerers and astrologers, but all of them were powerless to do anything. Despair spread among the people who had escaped the spell and were living outside the city, and they lost hope of ever seeing life return to their beloved home. One day, a valiant prince from a distant land heard about this enchanted city. This prince possessed immense physical strength, keen intelligence, and a fearless heart. He resolved to travel to the enchanted city and attempt to break the spell and save its people. The prince prepared his horse and his weapon and embarked on a long and arduous journey towards the enchanted city. After many days of travel, the prince reached the outskirts of the city. From a distance, the city appeared like a ghost town, silent and devoid of any motion. The prince entered the city feeling sorrow and pity for what he beheld. The streets were empty, the buildings deserted, and the stone statues of the city's inhabitants stood silently in their places. The prince wandered through the city searching for any sign of life, or for anyone who could guide him on how to break the spell. As the prince walked down one of the streets, he saw a grand palace that appeared untouched by the enchantment. The prince approached the palace and entered. Inside, the prince found a beautiful maiden sitting on a throne, and she was the only one who had not been turned to stone. The prince was overjoyed to see the maiden and asked her about her story and why she had not been affected by the city's magic. The maiden said to the prince, "O valiant prince, I am the daughter of the king of this city. The wicked sorcerer managed to enchant the city, but he could not enchant me because I was wearing a magic ring that protects me from spells. The sorcerer told me that the spell would not be broken until a valiant prince came and managed to find the magical talisman and undo its enchantment." The prince inquired, "And where is this talisman?" The maiden replied, "The sorcerer hid the talisman in a secret place that no one but himself knows. But I know the way to this place." The prince was delighted by the maiden's words and asked her to guide him to the talisman's location. The maiden agreed and accompanied him to a secret place in the palace where there was an ancient map depicting the path to the talisman. The prince thanked the maiden, took the map, and set off on a quest for the magical talisman. In his journey, the prince faced many hardships and dangers, fighting monsters and villains who guarded the path to the talisman. But the prince, with his courage and strength, managed to overcome all obstacles. After great difficulty, the prince finally reached the place where the talisman was located. The talisman was a necklace of black pearls hanging around the neck of a colossal golden statue. The prince climbed up to the statue's neck and managed to retrieve the necklace. As the prince touched the necklace, a great magical power began to emanate from it, and the entire city trembled. Then, the golden statue fell to the ground and shattered, and a bright light shone forth from the necklace, illuminating the entire city. At that moment, the spell began to lift from the city. The stone statues turned back into people, life returned to the city's streets and markets, and the people resumed their natural lives, feeling joy and happiness. The prince returned to the palace with the magical necklace and presented it to the king's daughter. The king's daughter was overjoyed to see life return to her city and thanked the prince profusely for his courage and valor. The prince decided to marry the king's daughter and stay in the city to rule it with justice and righteousness. And so, happiness returned to the enchanted city thanks to the courage and intelligence of the prince. King Shahryar exclaimed, "What a wondrous tale, Scheherazade! You have shown the power of courage and intelligence in overcoming evil and sorcery." "Indeed, my lord king," Scheherazade continued, "for courage is the mightiest weapon against adversity, and intelligence is the compass that guides us to the path of righteousness and salvation." However, the tale of Prince Florian did not conclude there. After marrying the king's daughter and settling in the city of Eldoria, he faced a new challenge that threatened their happiness and the safety of the city. King Shahryar then inquired, "And what was this challenge, Scheherazade?" "I thought that with the breaking of the spell, all their troubles would have ended." Scheherazade responded, "My lord king, evil has many faces, and malice never truly sleeps." After Prince Florian had established order in the city, and the people had grown to love him for his justice and wisdom, news reached Eldoria of the return of the wicked sorcerer who had originally cast the spell. The sorcerer had not perished, but had fled to a distant place, gathered his strength, and returned seeking revenge upon the prince and the people of the city. When Prince Florian heard of the sorcerer's return, he did not waver or show fear. He knew that he had to confront this evil once more to protect his city and his beloved Princess Aurelia. The prince gathered his captains and soldiers and prepared to meet the wicked sorcerer in battle. Meanwhile, Princess Aurelia felt a growing anxiety for her husband's safety. She knew the sorcerer's power and cunning, and she feared that some harm might befall the prince. Princess Aurelia summoned the wise old woman who had aided them previously and sought her counsel. The wise old woman said to Princess Aurelia, "My daughter, the prince possesses great courage, but the sorcerer wields magic of formidable power. You must aid your husband in a way other than through combat." Princess Aurelia asked, "And how may I do that, wise woman?" The old woman replied, "The source of the sorcerer's power lies within a magic staff that he carries with him always. If you can manage to obtain this staff and break it, then the sorcerer's power will vanish, and he will be unable to harm anyone thereafter." Princess Aurelia pondered the old woman's words and devised a clever plan to acquire the sorcerer's staff. The following day, as the sorcerer approached the city with a large army of followers, Prince Florian rode out to meet him with his own forces, ready for a decisive battle. A fierce battle ensued between the prince's army and the sorcerer's forces. Prince Florian fought with bravery and valor, but the sorcerer's power was immense, and the prince's army began to falter. During this time, Princess Aurelia, disguised as a servant girl, had stealthily infiltrated the sorcerer's camp. With her intelligence and cunning, Princess Aurelia managed to approach the sorcerer's tent unnoticed. She slipped inside and found the sorcerer asleep, his magic staff resting beside him. Princess Aurelia carefully took the staff and hurried out of the tent as swiftly as she could. However, one of the sorcerer's guards spotted her as she fled, crying out and attempting to seize her. Princess Aurelia ran with all her might until she reached a safe place far from the sorcerer's encampment. Once Princess Aurelia was secure, she raised the magic staff and broke it in two. Instantly, a deafening roar echoed through the air, and the sorcerer felt a sudden and profound weakening of his magical abilities. When the sorcerer's soldiers saw his staff broken, terror gripped their hearts, and they fled in disarray. As for the wicked sorcerer, he had lost his power and was unable to mount any resistance. Prince Florian's soldiers captured him and imprisoned him in a dark dungeon. Prince Florian was overjoyed when he learned of his wife's courageous actions. She had saved the city and its people with her intelligence and bravery. The prince and princess returned to Eldoria, where they were greeted by a jubilant populace, and celebrations and festivities were held in honor of their victory over the wicked sorcerer. Thereafter, Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia lived in happiness and prosperity, ruling the city with justice and righteousness. Their story became an example of courage, intelligence, and the love that triumphs over all adversity. King Shahryar remarked, "Truly, Scheherazade, the prince's wife was an exemplar of an intelligent and courageous woman. She used her wit to save her kingdom and her husband." "Indeed, my lord," Scheherazade continued, "for a keen mind and sound judgment are the foundation of all success, no less important than courage and strength." But the tale of Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia did not end with the defeat of the sorcerer. After peace and order were restored to Eldoria, a new disquiet began to stir among the people, the source of which was a riddle that no one could solve. King Shahryar then asked, "And what was this new riddle, Scheherazade?" "I had hoped that the city had finally been freed from all its evils." Scheherazade replied, "My lord, after the wicked sorcerer's spell was broken, life in Eldoria returned to normal, and the people rejoiced in their return to their homes and their livelihoods. However, after some time had passed, a strange star began to appear in the city's sky every night at midnight, a star unlike any they had seen before. This star glimmered with a pale green light, and it instilled a strange feeling of fear and unease in the hearts of the people. The people began to wonder about the secret of this star and what it meant. Rumors and speculations spread among the inhabitants, and some began to predict the arrival of a new misfortune for the city. News of this strange star reached Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia, who were puzzled by the phenomenon and resolved to seek an explanation. The prince ordered the most skilled astronomers and scholars from all corners of the land to be summoned. He presented the matter to them and requested an interpretation of the appearance of this strange star. But the astronomers and scholars were unable to offer any convincing explanation and could not determine the cause of its appearance or what it portended. The prince and princess grew increasingly concerned and decided to embark on their own investigation to solve this riddle. One night, when the green star appeared in the sky, Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia ascended to the highest tower of the palace and watched the star, contemplating its pale light. As they sat gazing at the star, they heard a faint sound coming from its direction. The sound resembled a distant whisper or a call. The prince and princess listened intently, trying to decipher the words that echoed in the air. After great effort, the prince and princess managed to understand some of the fragmented words that drifted from the direction of the star. The words spoke of a hidden treasure on a distant island and of a curse that would befall anyone who tried to claim it. Intrigued, the prince and princess decided to sail to the island mentioned in the call and attempt to uncover the secret of this treasure and the strange star. The prince prepared a sturdy ship, stocked it with provisions and equipment, and, accompanied by a number of brave sailors and Princess Aurelia, set sail towards the unknown island. The ship sailed for days and nights, the wind carrying them in the direction of the green star, which appeared in the sky each night to illuminate their path. After a long voyage, they reached a remote island they had never seen before. The island was covered in dense forests and strange trees, and it appeared deserted and devoid of any signs of life. Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and the sailors disembarked on the island and began to explore it in search of the treasure mentioned in the call. They ventured through the forests and climbed the mountains, facing many dangers and hardships. Finally, they reached a dark cave located in the heart of the island. The prince and princess cautiously entered the cave, illuminating the darkness with torches. Inside, they found an old chest made of precious wood, tightly sealed. The prince tried to open the chest, but he was unable to. At that moment, a folded piece of parchment appeared from within the chest. The prince took the parchment and opened it, finding writing in a strange language that he did not understand. The princess asked the prince to show the parchment to one of the scholars they had brought with them on the ship. When the scholar saw the parchment, he recognized the language and read aloud what was written. The parchment contained a magical incantation explaining the secret of the green star and the treasure in the chest. The star was the guardian of the treasure, and the treasure could only be obtained by solving a difficult riddle written on the parchment. The scholar, the prince, and the princess began to ponder the riddle. After much deep thought, they finally managed to decipher the riddle's meaning and understand what was required to open the chest and claim the treasure. King Shahryar interjected, "The story is becoming more intriguing, Scheherazade. What was this riddle, and what treasure did it guard?" "Indeed, my lord," Scheherazade replied. "The riddle was inscribed in ancient verses, its words obscure and demanding deep contemplation to grasp their meaning. After the scholar, the prince, and the princess had spent many hours attempting to decipher the enigma, the scholar finally discerned the intended significance. The riddle alluded to something present on the island yet unseen, something precious yet invaluable, something that bestowed life yet could claim it in an instant." King Shahryar then interjected, "And what was this enigmatic thing, Scheherazade? You have piqued my curiosity to know the solution." Scheherazade continued, "My lord, after diligent searching and careful consideration, the scholar concluded that the riddle spoke of water on the island. Water is essential for life, yet it can also be the cause of drowning and death. The riddle further stated that the key to the chest lay in the place where two distinct types of water met on the island." Upon hearing this interpretation, Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia began to recall the places they had visited on the island. They remembered a freshwater spring deep within the forest, and they also remembered the shore where the salty seawater mingled with the island's sands. The prince and princess decided to go to the shore and examine the place where the salt water met the fresh water. As they walked along the beach, they noticed a large rock bearing strange inscriptions that they had previously overlooked. They approached the rock and carefully examined the markings, discovering that they formed a map of a section of the island. They followed the map etched into the rock until they reached a specific spot on the beach. This place was a small pool where fresh rainwater collected, and this pool was connected to the sea by a narrow channel that allowed salt water to enter at high tide. When Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia saw this pool, they were certain that they had found the place indicated in the riddle. The prince began to search around the pool for anything that might serve as the key to the chest. As he explored the rocks surrounding the pool, he discovered a small key made of yellow brass hidden amongst the crevices. The prince rejoiced at this discovery, quickly took the key, and returned with it to the cave where the chest lay. Prince Florian inserted the key into the lock, and they heard a soft click, and the chest opened easily. The prince and princess peered into the chest with curiosity and wonder. The chest was filled with precious jewels, gleaming gold, and rare gemstones of extraordinary beauty. The value of the treasure surpassed all imagination. But this was not all. At the bottom of the chest, Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia found a roll of ancient parchment. They unfurled the parchment and discovered a message written in elegant script. The message was addressed to whosoever could solve the riddle and claim the treasure. The message recounted the story of the green star and the treasure. The star was originally a beautiful princess from another realm, transformed into a star by a wicked sorcerer to serve as the guardian of this treasure. The sorcerer had placed a curse upon the treasure, decreeing that it could only be claimed by a person who solved the riddle and whose heart was pure and intentions were good. The message also stated that the lifting of the curse from the treasure would lead to the princess's return to her original form. When Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia read this message, they felt pity for the fate of the princess who had been turned into a star. They took the treasure and emerged from the cave. As they stood outside the cave, gazing at the green star in the sky, the star began to shimmer with a brighter and more radiant light than ever before. Then, the star slowly descended from the heavens until it reached the earth. In the very spot where the star landed, a maiden of exquisite beauty appeared. It was the princess who had been transformed into a star. Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia were overjoyed at the return of the princess to her human form, and Princess Aurelia welcomed her with great warmth. The princess recounted her story to the prince and princess, telling them how the wicked sorcerer had transformed her into a star. The princess decided to remain on the island with Prince Florian and Princess Aurelia, and they all lived together in happiness and prosperity, thanks to the treasure they had obtained and the lifting of the curse from the island. King Shahryar exclaimed, "What a moving tale, Scheherazade! You have shown how goodness ultimately triumphs, and how helping others brings happiness to all." "Indeed, my lord," Scheherazade affirmed, "for good deeds always bring a good reward, and a person's good intentions are what open the doors of sustenance and happiness." However, the tale of Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella, for that was the name the star princess had revealed, did not end there. After they had settled on the island and lived in harmony and joy, they began to notice signs indicating another secret lay hidden within this remote isle. King Shahryar then asked, "And what was this new secret, Scheherazade? I thought they had uncovered all the mysteries of the island." Scheherazade replied, "My lord, several months after their arrival on the island, as they were strolling one day along the shore, they discovered a sealed glass bottle that the waves had washed up onto the sand. Prince Florian picked up the bottle and opened it, finding inside a folded piece of parchment. When they unfolded the parchment, they found writing in a delicate and beautiful script. The message was in a language that the prince and princesses understood. It was a letter from a foreign sailor who mentioned that he had been shipwrecked on the island many years ago and had hidden a great treasure somewhere on it, but had never been able to return to claim it. The sailor had drawn a simple map on the piece of parchment, indicating the treasure's location. Intrigued, Prince Florian and the princesses decided to seek out this hidden treasure. They followed the map drawn on the parchment, which led them to a remote place in the heart of the island they had not visited before. This place was a narrow valley surrounded by high cliffs, and it appeared deserted and somewhat ominous. Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella cautiously entered the valley. As they walked through it, they heard a strange sound coming from a distance. The sound resembled a faint moan or muffled weeping. They approached the source of the sound carefully until they reached a small cave situated on the side of the valley. The prince and princesses peered into the cave and found something astonishing. The cave was lit by a faint light, and in the center sat an old woman who bore the marks of sorrow and despair. The old woman was bound by heavy iron chains and was weeping softly. Astonished by the sight of the old woman, Prince Florian and the princesses asked her about her story and the reason for her presence in this place. The old woman said in a mournful voice, "O strangers, I am a princess from a distant kingdom. Wicked pirates kidnapped me and brought me to this island, where they imprisoned me in this cave. They have taken all my possessions, my wealth, and my jewels." Prince Florian and the princesses were saddened to hear the old princess's tale and resolved to help her. The prince broke the chains that bound the princess, and they led her out of the cave. The princess was weak and ill due to her long captivity. Prince Florian and the princesses took her to their dwelling on the island and provided her with food, drink, and the necessary medical care until she regained her health and strength. The old princess was immensely grateful for their kindness and thanked them profusely for their generosity and compassion. The old princess then asked Prince Florian and the princesses the reason for their presence on this island. The prince told her about the bottle they had found and the map of the treasure. When the old princess heard about the treasure, her face changed and she showed signs of worry and fear. "Oh, my children," the old princess said in a trembling voice, "beware of this treasure. It is no ordinary hoard, but a cursed one that brings misfortune and destruction to anyone who tries to claim it." Prince Florian and the princesses were surprised by the old princess's words and asked her the reason for her warning. "I heard the story of this treasure many years ago," the old princess continued. "It is said that it once belonged to a wicked sorcerer who lived on this island long ago. This sorcerer amassed great wealth through sorcery and dark magic, then placed it in this location, guarded by a powerful curse. Many have tried to obtain this treasure, but all have met with a tragic end." Curiosity mingled with caution in the hearts of Prince Florian and the princesses, and they decided to learn more about this cursed treasure. They asked the old princess about the treasure's location and how to avoid it. "The map you found is accurate," the old princess said, "but it does not reveal the whole truth. The treasure is located in an ancient temple situated on the summit of the highest mountain on this island. This temple is surrounded by fierce guardians, magical creatures, and evil spirits. The treasure can only be reached by overcoming these guards and passing a difficult test." The old princess added, "My advice to you, my children, is to leave this treasure be and return to your homeland safely. This treasure will bring you nothing but evil and ruin." King Shahryar interjected, "The story is becoming increasingly thrilling, Scheherazade. Will Prince Florian and the princesses heed the old princess's warning?" "Indeed, my lord," Scheherazade replied. "Prince Florian was courageous and ambitious, yet he was also wise and valued the counsel of others." The prince listened intently to the old princess's words and pondered them deeply. Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella, however, felt a growing anxiety and fear at the old princess's description of the cursed treasure. King Shahryar then inquired, "And did Prince Florian heed the old princess's warning and abandon the idea of seeking the treasure?" Scheherazade continued, "My lord, after careful consideration and discussion with the princesses, Prince Florian decided to investigate the matter himself. The prince said, 'Dear princess, I thank you deeply for your valuable advice and your warning against this danger. However, my curiosity compels me to learn the truth about this cursed treasure and whether it poses a genuine threat to us or to others. I will venture to this ancient temple myself and examine it. If it proves as dangerous as you describe, we will leave it undisturbed and return to our homeland." The princesses tried to dissuade the prince from going, but he was resolute in his decision. So, Prince Florian prepared himself, armed himself with his powerful sword, and resolved to ascend the mountain peak alone so as not to endanger the lives of others. Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella bid farewell to Prince Florian, wishing him safety and success in his mission. The prince embarked on his journey towards the mountain peak. The path was rugged and arduous, fraught with obstacles. Prince Florian climbed over rocks and through dense forests, determined to reach his goal. After great effort, Prince Florian finally reached the summit of the mountain. Before him stood an ancient temple built of black stone, appearing deserted and ominous, just as the old princess had described. The temple was surrounded by an aura of darkness and silence, and strange sounds and faint whispers echoed within its confines. Undeterred, Prince Florian entered the temple. The interior was dark and gloomy, and a foul odor permeated the air. The prince began to explore the temple's corridors, carrying a torch to light his way. He found strange statues and terrifying figures carved into the walls, which instilled in him a sense of dread and fear. In the heart of the temple, Prince Florian discovered a large altar. Upon it rested a chest made of black gold, securely locked with a massive lock adorned with red jewels. Prince Florian was certain that this was the chest containing the cursed treasure. The prince cautiously approached the chest and attempted to open it, but he could not. He examined the lock closely and noticed a small inscription upon it. The inscription was another riddle written in an ancient language. Prince Florian pondered the riddle, and after a short time, he managed to decipher its meaning. The riddle indicated the necessity of offering a sacrifice to the temple in order to open the chest. Prince Florian hesitated at first to offer a sacrifice, but then he remembered the old princess's words about the curse surrounding the treasure. So, the prince resolved to offer his most prized possession as a sacrifice to the temple, hoping to break the curse and uncover its secret. Prince Florian drew his precious sword, which he carried with him always, and which was his most valued possession. He raised the sword high, facing the altar, and then thrust it into the heart of the altar with all his might. At that moment, the entire temple shook. A deafening roar echoed through the air, and the black gold chest sprang open. Prince Florian looked inside the chest, but he found no gold or jewels. Instead, he found an ancient book bound in black leather. Prince Florian took the book and opened it, finding writing in a language he had never seen before. As he examined the book, a thick smoke suddenly billowed from the chest, and the smoke transformed into a colossal, terrifying genie. "Foolish mortal!" the genie roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the temple. "You have dared to open my sacred chest. You will pay dearly for this." Prince Florian felt a momentary tremor of fear at the sight of the genie, but then he remembered his courage and strength. He drew his sword and prepared to fight. King Shahryar exclaimed, "The situation has become perilous, Scheherazade. Will Prince Florian be able to defeat this terrifying genie?" "Nay, my lord king," Scheherazade continued. "Prince Florian did not succumb to fear at the sight of the genie. Instead, his resolve to confront this evil and protect the city and the princesses only grew stronger. Prince Florian raised his sword high and charged towards the genie, reciting sacred invocations. King Shahryar then asked, "And what transpired next, Scheherazade? Was Prince Florian able to battle this dreadful creature?" Scheherazade recounted, "My lord, as Prince Florian approached the genie, the monstrous being unleashed a deafening roar that shook the temple and began to spew fire and smoke from its mouth and eyes. Prince Florian attempted to strike with his sword, but the genie moved with incredible speed, effortlessly evading his blows. A fierce battle raged between the prince and the genie. Prince Florian fought with unwavering valor and bravery, but he faced a formidable foe, possessing supernatural strength and potent magic. The fight continued for a long time, and Prince Florian began to feel the strain of exhaustion, but his faith sustained him, granting him the strength and determination to persevere. In a fleeting moment, as the genie attacked Prince Florian with searing flames, the prince recalled the black book he had found within the chest. An intuition sparked within him that the secret to the genie's power might lie within this book. With lightning-fast reflexes, Prince Florian lunged at the genie, attempting to seize the book. Enraged, the genie tried to prevent him, but Prince Florian was quicker and managed to snatch the book from its grasp. As Prince Florian held the black book, he felt a strange power surge through his body. The book began to glow with a faint light, and strange letters and symbols appeared on its pages. Prince Florian gazed at the book, trying to decipher its contents, but he could not comprehend any of it. Just then, a faint image of an elderly man with a radiant face appeared within the book. The man was dressed in white robes and held a staff in his hand. He looked at Prince Florian with a kind smile and said in a calm voice, "Fear not, valiant prince. This book holds the secret to this genie's power and the means to defeat it. Listen carefully to what I tell you." Prince Florian listened intently to the old man's words. The man said, "This genie is a servant of wicked sorcerers who once dwelled on this island long ago. They imprisoned him in this chest and imbued it with a magical power that makes him seemingly invincible. However, there is only one way to vanquish him, and that is to read aloud the incantation written on the last page of this book." Prince Florian thanked the old man for his guidance and opened the book, searching for the last page. After a brief moment, he found it. The last page was filled with small letters and intricate symbols. Prince Florian began to read the incantation aloud, slowly and deliberately, focusing on each word and character. As Prince Florian recited the incantation, the genie began to shriek and writhe in agony. Its body began to transform into a thick, black smoke, which gradually began to dissipate until it vanished completely. When the genie disappeared, Prince Florian felt an immense power flow through him. He realized that he had managed to defeat the wicked genie thanks to the old man's assistance and counsel. Overjoyed, Prince Florian had triumphed over this terrifying creature. He emerged from the temple, carrying the black book, feeling a sense of happiness and relief after vanquishing the evil that had threatened the island. Prince Florian descended the mountain peak and returned to the princesses, carrying the black book with him. Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella greeted him with joy and relief, expressing their deep worry for him during his absence. Prince Florian recounted to the princesses all that had transpired in the temple and how he had defeated the genie. The princesses were overjoyed at Prince Florian's safety and his victory over evil. The prince, along with the princesses, decided to keep the black book in a secure place, preventing it from falling into the wrong hands again. After this perilous adventure, Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella lived in happiness and prosperity on the island, ruling with justice and righteousness, and the people of the island loved them dearly. King Shahryar commented, "What a fortunate and satisfying conclusion to this chapter, Scheherazade." Prince Florian displayed remarkable courage and intelligence in confronting this dreadful genie. "Indeed, my lord king," Scheherazade continued, "for valor and wisdom are the twin virtues of heroes, and with them they can overcome even the most daunting trials. But the chronicle of Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella was not yet complete. After a period of peace and prosperity on the island, signs began to emerge indicating the presence of other forces seeking to threaten their stability and happiness. King Shahryar then inquired, "And what were these new forces, Scheherazade? I had believed they had finally rid themselves of all perils." Scheherazade recounted, "My lord, as the prince and princesses strolled one day along the island's shore, they noticed a peculiar ship approaching the coast. The vessel appeared large and ominous, bearing a black flag emblazoned with a skull and crossbones. Prince Florian immediately recognized the ship as belonging to pirates. He ordered his soldiers to prepare for the defense of the island. As the pirate ship drew closer, a large number of armed men disembarked, appearing fierce and savage. 'Hear ye, foolish inhabitants!' the pirate captain roared, his voice echoing across the shore. 'We have come to take all your treasures and riches. Resist, and we shall slay you all.' Prince Florian was not intimidated by the pirates' threats, and with his soldiers, bravely confronted them. A fierce battle erupted between the prince's men and the sea pirates. The pirates outnumbered the prince's forces and were known for their ferocity, but the prince's soldiers fought valiantly to defend their land and their prince and princesses. Prince Florian fought with extraordinary valor, leading his soldiers and encouraging them in the fray. Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella stood by the prince's side, offering him encouragement and praying for his victory. The battle raged for many hours, with both sides suffering heavy losses. But Prince Florian remained determined to defeat the pirates and drive them from the island. In a decisive moment, the prince managed to slay the pirate captain in a fierce duel. When the remaining pirates saw their captain fall, terror filled their hearts, and they began to flee back towards their ship. Prince Florian's soldiers pursued the pirates until they reached their vessel, managing to seize it and capture a large number of the pirates. The people of the island rejoiced greatly at their victory over the pirates, thanking Prince Florian and the princesses for their bravery and valor. The prince ordered the captured pirates to be imprisoned in the island's dungeons and commanded that the damage inflicted on the island during the battle be repaired. Following this battle, Prince Florian felt that the island was no longer entirely secure and that a constant threat lingered from the forces of evil. The prince resolved to build a large and formidable fortress to protect the island from any future attacks. The construction of the fortress required much time and effort, but eventually, Prince Florian managed to build an impregnable stronghold that defended the island from all sides. The prince placed strong guards at the fortress gates, instructing them to remain vigilant and prepared for any emergency. With the fortress complete, Prince Florian and the princesses felt a sense of safety and stability on the island. They lived in happiness, prosperity, and harmony, ruling the island with justice and righteousness, and the people loved them dearly. King Shahryar commented, "The prince sounds very wise and forward-thinking, Scheherazade." Scheherazade continued, "Indeed, my lord." However, Prince Florian had not forgotten his homeland and his kingdom of old. He longed for his family and friends and dreamed of returning to them one day. The prince decided to prepare a grand ship, load it with precious gifts and the treasures he had acquired on the island, and sail back to his country to reassure his family and tell them of all that had befallen him in this distant isle. Prince Florian informed the princesses of his decision, and they were saddened by his departure, but they understood his longing for his homeland and his family. The prince promised the princesses that he would return to them as soon as possible. Prince Florian prepared his ship, stocking it with everything necessary for the voyage. Then, he bid farewell to the princesses and the people of the island and set sail on a long journey across the sea towards his homeland. King Shahryar inquired, "The prince has begun to long for his home, Scheherazade. Will he be able to return safely?" "Indeed, my lord king," Scheherazade responded, "for the yearning for one's homeland and family surpasses all other longings, and no matter how long the absence, the heart always gravitates back to its origin." Prince Florian set sail with his sturdy ship across the vast sea, and the winds were favorable, the skies clear, propelling the vessel swiftly. The prince sailed for days and nights, his mind filled with memories of the two princesses and the enchanting island. King Shahryar then asked, "And was the prince's voyage back to his homeland safe and uneventful, Scheherazade?" Scheherazade recounted, "My lord, the prince's journey was not without its share of difficulties. One day, as the ship sailed through the open sea, it was caught in a sudden and violent storm that threatened to sink it. The waves rose and crashed, and the winds howled fiercely, but thanks to the experience of the sailors and the prince's own courage, they managed to steer the ship through the tempest and emerge safely. After more days of sailing, the outlines of the prince's homeland began to appear in the distance. Prince Florian was overjoyed when he saw the shores of his country looming on the horizon. He ordered the sailors to hasten, and soon the ship anchored in the city's harbor. Prince Florian disembarked, his heart filled with immense happiness, for his dream of returning to his homeland had been realized. The people of the city greeted him with a jubilant reception, for they had been worried about him during his long absence. Crowds flocked to meet the prince and express their joy at his safe return. The prince hastened to his father's royal palace, and when his father, the king, saw him, he was overcome with joy and embraced him in a long and heartfelt hug. The king had been deeply concerned for his son during his prolonged absence and had prayed fervently for his safe return. Prince Florian recounted to his father all that had transpired on the enchanted island, how he had married Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella, how he had vanquished the wicked sorcerer and the terrifying Genie, and how he had built the fortress and fought off the pirates. The king listened intently to his son's tale, marveling at all that he heard. He ordered grand celebrations to be held throughout the kingdom in honor of the prince's return. The festivities lasted for days and nights, and joy and happiness filled every corner of the realm. But Prince Florian had not forgotten the two princesses who loved him and awaited his return. After settling back in his homeland and reassuring his family, the prince prepared a large fleet of ships, loaded them with precious gifts and the treasures he had brought from the island, and set sail back to the island to bring the princesses with him to his country. When the prince's ships arrived at the island, Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella were overjoyed at his return. They greeted him with great warmth and expressed their deep longing for him. Prince Florian spent some time with the princesses on the island, and then he escorted them aboard his magnificent ships and returned with them to his homeland. Upon their arrival in the prince's kingdom, Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella were greeted with an astounding welcome by the king, the royal family, and the people. Lavish wedding celebrations were held, lasting for 7 days and 7 nights. Prince Florian lived happily with his 2 wives, Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella, ruling the kingdom with justice and righteousness, and the people loved them dearly. King Shahryar commented, "The prince sounds like a man of great honor and commitment, Scheherazade." "Indeed, my lord king," Scheherazade continued, "for the bonds of love and loyalty create the strongest of kingdoms, and Prince Florian's heart was large enough to cherish both Princess Aurelia and Princess Stella." After the magnificent wedding celebrations, life settled into a harmonious rhythm within the kingdom. Prince Florian, with the wisdom gained from his travels and the counsel of his 2 beloved wives, ruled with unparalleled justice and compassion. The 3 of them worked together to ensure the prosperity and happiness of their people. Princess Aurelia, with her keen intellect and understanding of the city of Eldoria, focused on improving the lives of its inhabitants, establishing new schools and hospitals, and fostering trade and the arts. Princess Stella, with her gentle nature and deep connection to the natural world from her time as a star, dedicated herself to the welfare of the land and its resources, ensuring sustainable practices and promoting harmony between the kingdom and the surrounding environment. Prince Florian, drawing upon his experiences in overcoming adversity, established a strong and just legal system, ensuring that all citizens were treated fairly and that the laws of the land were upheld. He also invested in strengthening the kingdom's defenses, ensuring the safety and security of his people from any external threats. The fortress built on the distant island served as a vital outpost, protecting their trade routes and providing a safe haven for ships caught in storms. Years passed, filled with peace and prosperity. Prince Florian and his 2 queens were beloved by their people, who often spoke of their wisdom, kindness, and courage. The kingdom flourished under their joint rule, becoming a beacon of hope and stability in the region. They welcomed emissaries from distant lands, sharing their knowledge and establishing peaceful relations with neighboring kingdoms. One day, the wise old woman who had first aided them in Eldoria paid them a visit. She was greeted with great honor and respect by the prince and princesses. The old woman smiled and said, "My dear children, I have watched over you from afar, and I am pleased to see the happiness and harmony you have created in this kingdom. Your courage and your love have truly transformed this land. She then presented them with a magical amulet, saying, "This amulet will protect you from any future harm and will ensure that your reign continues to be blessed." Prince Florian and the princesses accepted the gift with gratitude, and the amulet indeed brought them further good fortune. They continued to rule wisely and justly for many years, their love for each other and for their people growing stronger with each passing day. Their story became a legend whispered throughout the land, a testament to the power of love, courage, and wisdom working together to create a truly golden age. And so, Prince Florian, Princess Aurelia, and Princess Stella lived out their days in peace and happiness, leaving behind a legacy of justice and prosperity that would be remembered for generations to come. King Shahryar sighed contentedly. That is a truly fitting and heartwarming conclusion, Scheherazade. The prince and his queens have created a realm of lasting peace and happiness. And here the story ends. Follow more stories on the Eastern Nights channel. If you like the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive all new updates, and let us know your opinion in the comments.